We're gonna go. Oh, no, we're gonna go through everything.
Cool.
Gonna be,
Were you able to eat anything?
I had 5 wheat thins with cheese
Yeah, I have to feed my cat because I forgot I have.
So I need to research it on my end.
and I had a shot of bourbon,
I'll do is.
just so you know.
Good.
I didn't have time to get to the wine.
Thank you.
Then I started looking, I couldn't find the boat.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. I need that. Yes.
That's why I spent 10 minutes looking for the boat
Okay,
party.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
These look great. I'm
That's
so.
everything
super
here. I
grateful
didn't
for
want to
the
bring it
text.
back.
Thank you.
I just left it in my car. So I won't,
Yeah.
I won't get mouthy tonight because it's
Yeah,
more than
everyone's great.
get me going.
We might have lost Cheryl, but who knows?
Oh,
No, yeah, I'm just kidding. She's here.
Oh, I was like, she was an executive, right? That's
Yeah.
fine.
they sent me this idea because they used to do that with Dusty, because I was her favorite. Thanks. I haven't worked for 3 years. I'm so out of it with technology. Only 10? That's a record.
There's no video on the screen.
Or Jane
I just needed to.
knows how to do all this.
Is there a camera?
Yeah,
Go get her. Okay.
What are we doing?
she's not sure how to work that. She's getting J. Yeah,
Oh. Oh, that's.
Nice, huh?
Yeah.
We are supposed to be in the campus.
Here comes Jay.
His house, maybe.
Unless it's like covered. Yeah.
Our camera's not working.
7 days. Generation later, 3 days. and you're lucky.
Right out.
Do you have to turn the camera back on because the power outage? Is that where the camera's at? Do you have to turn it back on?
JJ. It's the one that knows how to do it.
Was the camera off?
Yeah, I think where it's off, we had I guess there was a power outage, so we had to actually restart the computer system from the server room earlier because it was off completely. So I just asked her, is the camera actually off too? That would be my guess because everything else was off earlier. Yeah. So she went to go check to see if it needs to be turned back on.
Oh, it wouldn't be any fun without a technical problem. Well, can they hear us?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, so
I think so.
Yeah, we can hear you guys.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, Susan. She's gonna fix it.
oh, Susan?
No,
Oh,
Jay.
But they can hardly see us in any case, isn't it?
I know,
I
because
mean, at least they can hear you. That would be the most important. Yeah.
So the camera is usually where it says more. That's where the camera usually is.
clicked on that.
There's nothing over there. It's right here. It's start video. And you start it and it's just a black screen. Is that the camera right here?
On Monday because of, and every time. Yeah.
Something on the system to turn on.
Started because every time when reset itself. I said, 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, you be my guest, because I won't.
What?
Sing karaoke.
Yeah.
For the people on Zoom, we have a little technical delay with our camera, in case you're wondering what's going on. They had a power outage and the camera is off.
Yeah, I think they can, yeah, they can hear. That was another issue last time.
It's in the mic cocktail.
Squeezed one in between the executive and the open.
I think about it. I better not, I might say something on recording.
This is why I have a bottle you can't see through.
You know, it's like. Dry January. My birthday's in January. Remember my birthday, I was born me, so no dry January for me. But Jackie, you know,
I didn't bring my sleeping bag.
no social things at all. You know what I mean? And he says the reason he doesn't do it. And I post something.
Maybe I should adopt that attitude. Well, yeah.
Married.
Everything is last. So we can't tell where the issue is, so she's gonna have to issue like a tech to come out and look at it. but the audio worked fine.
Because I know you texted me.
Yeah, well, it's just it's just our picture. It's our like, it's like how she pictures it. But they can still hear us. And then we'll figure this out. She's gonna keep working on it though.
Okay, I was just told for now we have to do without a camera. It doesn't work. We have to get a tech out. So they had a technical or a power outage, and since then the camera doesn't work. So we didn't know that.
They don't need to see us
So
anyway.
as long as you can hear us. So we look the same as last month, almost. So
It would
we
be
aged for
helpful.
a month older, but that's it. Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Thank you everybody for attending. This is a business meeting open to members of the Nepenthe Association and guests of the board. The Nepenthe Board of Directors is a policy board, and the role of the general manager is to observe the day-to-day operations. The primary purpose of the meeting is to ensure that the association is meeting its responsibility to provide oversight, maintain the value of the property, and to serve homeowners. And I have some exciting news. The board is delighted to welcome Nicole Merks. She is our new general manager. She has a few words to say. I'm particularly excited actually that she joined us because she comes from a very, very good association that I admire, and she learned from the best. And so we are raising the bar here at Nepenthe. So welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. I am Nicole Marks. So
Need to
is it
speak.
on?
Yes, but you need to get
You
closer.
have to
Let's get closer.
just like if
Got it.
sing karaoke.
There we go. My name is Nicole Marks. I am your new general manager. I have been with First Service for almost 6 years. It will be 6 years in May. I hold 2 accreditations. I have my CMCA and my AMS. It's our professional certifications for our community management industry. Like he said, I did start at Serrano Eldorado in Eldorado Hills. I was the front desk person there and quickly became kind of jack of all trades. So I helped in the compliance department, the maintenance department, the architecture, member relations, pretty much anything you could think of, I had my hands in. And then I ended up being promoted as an assistant community manager in our corporate regional office. And then eventually became a hybrid role where I was an assistant community manager and a community manager, and then quickly promoted to a community manager and continuing to mentor other managers that are coming into the industry and into our office. And then now I am now the general manager of Nepenthe. And I am very excited to work with this community. And so thank you so much for everybody welcoming me. Everybody's been so kind and gracious. So thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
The other news, you probably, well, thanks for the people in the room for coming out in this nasty weather. We had obviously a pretty bad storm on Sunday that we all survived. I would like to thank my board members here, my fellow board members, for the work on Sunday. We did do some background work. Some of us were out there in the weather. Thank you for, especially Christina George, for going out there, doing things that you should not have been doing, rather dangerous stuff. She actually pulled some big branches out with Paul Dubois. Paul Dubois came out, and it was a 2-man job, so she was the second man. Thank you for doing that. Again, we did not suffer a whole lot of bad damage, but some of it. And anyway, thank you everybody for helping everybody. Thanks. So then we had a long executive meeting this afternoon. The board approved a couple of proposals here. At today's executive meeting, the board approved the following proposals. for Browning Reserve Study for a 30-year update to our reserve study at $6,600. This is an on-site review. I forgot when, March?
Yeah, it should be beginning of March. We're meeting with Browning this coming Friday, the 16th, or a week from Friday.
Okay, thank you. Then we approved for Carson Landscape $6,100 to install downspout drains at 5 locations and remove shrubs and stumps at specified locations. Then we approved for Carson Landscape $21,800 to install drains at specified locations. For Carson Landscape, $65,400 to remove shrubs and renovate in Zone 4 in preparation of siding and painting project. For Bailey Boys, $55,000 for a second gutter cleaning. And for IES, that's Indoor Environmental Services, $20,270 for repairs of our 6 AC units on the clubhouse, Cabana, the Dunbarton Cabana, and Elmhurst. Our HVAC systems have not been looked at for many years. I think the last time about 6 years ago, we signed a contract, a maintenance contract with them, and one of the units are actually leaking Freon. So we're gonna have them come out and correct the issues that they found. So then we go to the construction manager's report. Any questions on that, on the board? We met briefly with Paul Reeves this afternoon. We introduced him to Nicole, and he's going to work with Nicole a little bit. She will update us later on that.
With regard to the siding project and the construction report, I have a couple of comments, observations. We continue to run over what original budget was and that, but we've completed now 114 units out of the 171 in phase 1. We have additional units in process. About 51 units remain in phase 1 in the Dunbarton area to be completed. Average cost for the siding and fencing is running about $12,500 a unit. So it's consistent with where we've been going. But in talking with Paul earlier this week, I said, what are we finding? And we're finding, extensive need for replacement of siding. So continuing what we've learned already.
All right, thank you. Any questions on the board? General Manager's report. Can you bring that up
You got it.
on?
There. All right. So Advanced Roof Design completed a roof repair at the main clubhouse on January 17th. Blue Sky Restoration stabilized the affected area directly above the main entrance of the clubhouse lobby. Blue Sky has since completed all the necessary demolition and remediation work. ClearTech Environmental completed the mold test and provided the clearance. Proposals for the build back repair work are now being obtained to fix that area right when you walk in. New ceiling fans have been installed in the gym facility. Minor repairs were completed by Elite at the Dunbarton facility, including light bulb replacements, hot water heater was braced, paintings rehung, doorstop installed, and first aid kit was added. And a cabinet for the fire extinguishers has also been ordered and will be hung as appropriate.
I think they got done today, right?
So no, they were actually the wrong size. So they were a little too large. Mike noticed it right when he got here that they were too big. So we're gonna get the right sizes and they'll be installed when we get the right ones. A deep cleaning of the Dumbarton facility was completed in January by Custom Care, which included carpet cleaning. In management's and board's effort to address trespassing and break-in issues at the Dunbarton facility, meetings were held with 3D Technology, who maintains the electronic access doors, as well as Securitas in January to discuss needed door repairs and replacements and adjustments and other security monitoring options that we can help to better secure the facilities. Management and the board will continue these efforts, but while the efforts are being continued, the spa will remain closed until we can get a permanent solution for security issues. The city of Sacramento has recently completed a water meter installation project to install water meters, master water meters for Nepenthe. Wood Rogers will be providing consulting services to support Nepenthe's water meter billing conversion and will develop a roadmap to convert the billing process in a manner that can be implemented by the association. You'll see reoccurring updates as this progresses, as in the newsletter, as well as status reports during the open meetings. Landscape, it was recently brought to management's attention that a homeowner in the community was spotted spray painting various plants on Dunbarton Circle with black spray paint. These plants consisted of shrubs and bushes that were recently lightly marked with white spray paint by Carson Landscape and a pre-approved effort to coordinate necessary plant removals for the siding and painting project work. This is considered vandalism, and if it occurs again, the board will take legal action if needed. Other updates include board treasurer, board president, and management met with the association CPA, Bill Erlinger, who provided answers to answer various questions and provided helpful insights on the tax process for 2023 taxes. A meeting with Bob Brownie is scheduled in February, like Bill had stated. We'll be meeting with Bob Brownie next Friday. And then a future meeting is set to be scheduled with Rick Russo to discuss the renewal of the master and flood insurance policies. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions on the board? Okay, moving on to committee updates. Thank you. Yes. Alan Waters is back in town. So welcome, Alan.
As President Dasher said, my name is Alan Waters. I'm chair of Nepenthe's Architecture Review Committee. This month, there was only one recommended approval, or rather routine installation for, I believe it was 4 windows of a type that we have approved before. Do the directors have any questions about that or other architectural matters?
Okay, I guess not. Oh,
Yeah, I do have one, just about the ARC rules. I know you've been looking at that. Any idea when the guidelines, when that will be?
No. No, I am looking at the
Yeah, that's the one that came back from the
yes,
attorney.
Yes.
Yeah, so that you're still working on that.
Yes.
Okay.
Need to
okay.
get that back. Yes, thank you, Christina.
And the emergency camera policy?
I've been discussing that with committee members via email, and I think we were reaching a resolution, a recommendation that the board consider eliminating that because it places, we believe, burden on the general manager to know not just the rules and requirements for exterior security camera systems, but also our concerns in placement, where they go and how we don't want them intruding in other people's private areas and things like that. And we've had only one request in 3 years, so it's not used very much.
So that will be brought back to us?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
it will. Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Alan.
One comment, Alan. Welcome back. It's been a year. You're back in your house. Thank you.
Didn't know that. Good.
Grounds committee. Anybody have an update?
Doesn't, yeah, Jim Shaw is not here, so we had a meeting on the 18th. And a lot of the time was spent talking to Paul Dubois from Grove, in particular about the trees that are city-owned and what Nepenthe's responsibility is. So we have, as you can see in the minutes, we have what approximately 2,800 trees. And out of those 2,800, 420 are city-owned trees. So minutes gives a lot of good information on the trees and how we work with the city. But bottom line is that if a city tree is not going to fall on Howe Avenue, because the city trees are concentrated on zones 1 and 3. If a city tree is not going to fall on Howe Avenue, the city is not really going to do any of the work that we would request as far as removal is concerned. And it's mentioned in the minutes, for instance, that the city, at one of the trees, the city did acknowledge that the tree's defect would cause it to fall, but the tree would fall into Nepenthe property, not onto Howe Avenue. So they offered to give Nepenthe a tree removal permit, but with the stipulation that the removal would be at our cost. So that's how it works, what happens with the city. So we were just clarifying this, since some homeowners had commented on the fact that a city-owned tree should be paid for by the city. So that was one of the areas. And when we discussed, a couple of things were tabled for the next meeting. And that includes a zone walk discussion and the organization chart for the board expectations for the grounds committee. Jim Shaw, the chair, did announce that he would be stepping down as chair, but that he would continue to serve on the grounds committee. So I had asked members to contact me if anyone was interested in running for the chair, and I think that's on the agenda item further down. And apart from that, just a separate issue is the storm damage that happened the other day, a few days back. Out of this, in the storm damage, we actually had 2 trees fell, a cedar and a birch. So out of that, and we're talking about wind gusts of 55 miles per hour in there. So, and we didn't have major damage. There was pretty much rain gutters and a lot of debris. So we've got extra crew have been working. And
We did not have to have them come out as an emergency.
no emergency work was required. I just helped Paul move the tree that was blocking Elmhurst. Yeah, so I guess I get some compensation for that maybe, but
I happened to see the cars driving over the lawn, actually.
yes, yeah.
So they couldn't get in and out.
Yeah,
of
so they,
their-
instead of going around, they just went over the lawn. And we had extra crew. The crew today with Carson, they actually stopped at about noon because there was no reason to continue, and they'll be back Thursday and Friday. Paul Dubois' group will continue. Initially, we thought Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but we've extended to Friday. So we've had extra crew, but as Marcus has pointed out, no emergency work.
It looks like all the work that the grounds committee and Carson and Grove put in last year
Yep.
paid off.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. We have to, we put a lot of effort and a lot of money was spent in that, but it ended up with being really good results in the fact we only had 2 trees which fell.
Real quick, there's a comment in the chat box. If, because the video's not working, I think it's hard to recognize who's talking. So before you say anything, if you could just say your name, except for Marcus, apparently your voice is super
Well,
recognized.
I have the other,
But if you can say your name
I-
before
I'm
you
the
I-
guy with the accent, just in
but
case.
so
I'm
am I,
the
but-
European
and
accent.
comment.
and I'd like to say I'm the other person with the European accent, except I'm not European, but apart from that, I just point that out, yes.
Okay.
Actually, we, just quick, we actually got a phone call on Monday from Frank Carson too. He wanted to know how everything is going over here. I mean, I must say, we get treated pretty darn good by our vendors. They care about us. I guess we spend enough money
Well,
with them, but
you're
still
also
they.
glad you brought that up because I got a call Sunday evening from Paul Dubois and said he was going to come out. And so I met up with him and he did a tour of the whole of the association here. And then Carson also came out. And that's all on Sunday. So that's pretty huge. And we immediately got a crew together. And I appreciate, Marcus, you being available because I had to get approval for extra crew to come in 8 o'clock the following morning. So, and they did that both with Carson and Grove. And that was excellent service. And, and Frank Carson following up with a call to check everything was okay.
And I just saw on the chat, yes, we did have some roof damage. I think there was an email. I've read so many emails lately. An email went out this week to ask everybody to report any damages that we can actually make a list and take care of it as quickly as possible. And again, Advanced Roofing was out very quickly. The house next to me got damaged, and they came out right away and put the tarp on. And then I believe the next day they actually came and fixed the roof on the house next to me. I don't know about the other ones.
And also as a follow-up, Paul Dubois did mention they're concentrating on getting all the branches and trees out of the area, and then they will start responding to the work orders about removing branches from the roofs and sidewalks, et cetera.
Yes,
Yeah.
So in the projects that we approved for Carson, there's one that is set up to the shrub removal to be ahead of the siding repair project, right? And I think you mentioned something about the grounds committees recognize that the shrub removal needs to move ahead of the siding project, and that's going to be some of their
Yes,
focus.
because Jim Shaw, who was chair at the time, was on the walk.
Mm.
And he actually did make a report a verbal report to the committee. Yeah, and he was absolutely that we are going to be going ahead of the siding group. And as a matter of fact, in one of the areas, I think it's around 806 Dunbarton, a lot of the shrubs we're not able, until we approved this proposal, we couldn't move forward. So they actually hacked a lot of the shrubs and along the side. And so a row became, because they just can't get access to it, and they weren't able to complete the area. So they actually, until we start working on it, and I believe we're going to be removing that on Monday. That area for that.
And there will be an e-blast going out, giving the
Yes, and
specific
and
addresses.
this, yes,
Nicole's-
and
The
yeah,
email
Nicole,
Specifically to your email
Yeah,
from me,
yeah,
that's gonna say.
Nicole will be handling that. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, Christina. Outreach Committee, Marcy Best.
Marcy Best, Outreach Committee. So we had about 7 weeks of a hiatus and we're done with that. So we're back. The Fund Committee is back. The first thing we're going to do is February 29th, we're going to play Bunko. So if you haven't played Bunko before, we actually have a real teacher that's going to teach us how to play Bunko. And you can actually drink while you play the game. So come on down, and all those details will be in the newsletter. And then we go into March. We have a rock painting event again, and that is March 2nd. And then we will eventually have Easter. We're going to have a June and September music event by the pool. And then we'll have the rest of our normal big events throughout the year that we normally have. So any questions? Any ideas?
I actually have one.
Good.
Have you guys ever done a Toys for Tots campaign here in the holidays?
No.
Are you interested?
We could talk about that.
I did a really good one this last season and it had a great turnout and I love the organization.
Okay, we did contributions to many of the charities that are dealing with folks that are disadvantaged for this year. Okay.
Wonderful.
Marcy, are there plans for forums later this year?
Oh,
for
absolutely.
financial
We will
forums and the
we
elec-
will be hosting the forums per usual, but we're not actually doing any of the work.
So there's no fixed schedule yet, but they will occur.
No, yeah,
Okay.
but that's on the agenda per usual. Okay. Oh, Bill also had an idea. We are going to also do a craft fair in around October, November to get ready for the holidays. So that's it.
Right. Thank you, Marcy. Finance Committee, Susan Timmer.
Hi, good evening. Susan Timmer. I'm the Chair of the Finance Committee. And we met on the 29th of January. We invited Carla Chung to the meeting to talk to us. She is the, now I'm forgetting what exactly her title is. She's from First Service Financial. She's like a senior vice president or something in charge of, and she's in charge of our investments. And so she told us about their investment strategies for us, their relationships with Morgan Stanley, and we talked about a proposal that she had developed to invest some cash that was maturing from some CDs, which is all described in the minutes. So I'm just kind of highlighting those things. I also wanted to highlight one other thing, and that's because Cheryl just asked about it, about we were going to have a budget forum, and we were originally planning for March, but we decided to push that back to August for a couple of reasons. One, the availability of our wonderful Finance Committee member, Tara Faust, and the other is that moving it to the summer kind of dovetails a little bit better with the actual budget season. So at any rate, that's what we're thinking. We're thinking of having it sometime late summer. Any questions?
Any questions on the board?
Just a quick follow-up. You mentioned Carla Chung's presentation, which was very insightful. And today, Nicole and I and the board discussed the recommended laddering of the investment dollars. And Nicole and I will be getting together with Carla in the next couple of days to look at her recommendations and then update the rate environment. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Bill.
All right, thank you. Next ILS, Nancy Ondorfer.
First of all, I want to apologize to Ricardo because I assumed that you already had his copies of his report. Because usually if you don't, the secretary, the gal that's been taking the minutes, Leslie, does a great job and she gets them out to us very early. And before, if you didn't have them in time, I was notified. I'm copying out. It won't happen again. But I know that you've seen copies of it. And so I know we'll get some answer from you. He's worked really, really hard on that. Then I wanted to just mention to you too, that we were hoping to have like a flood insurance forum in two different times. The first one at the end of March, where Ricardo will discuss the levies and the state of the levies, which will be really, really good. And then the second one at the end of April, we would be talking about the insurance coverage, et cetera, et cetera. So we're working on some things. So Jackie knows what we're doing. So I just wanted to say, sorry you didn't get them on time.
No problem. So it's going to go into the,
Ricardo's done a really, really good job working on this.
so it's going to go into the next month board package.
I'm sorry, it'll go into next
It's going to
month.
go
Yeah,
into the next month.
right, yeah, I know that, yeah. So,
I
gotta
did see
make
it.
that-
Thank you for the great job, Ricardo. All right, great. Homeowner correspondence. Did all of the directors have a chance to read the homeowner correspondence?
Yes.
Any questions?
Okay, are we going to respond to the request to keep the fitness center open earlier or? Yep. Is there any decision about that? Or can we? Is it a security issue if we open it at 6?
I don't see it as a security issue. Most physical facilities are open early in the morning. People like to exercise early. If there isn't a security problem, it's,
Yeah.
key card to get in. So
Okay.
should work.
Yeah, we just have to adjust the timings when they can use the key card, so.
Is
Yeah.
it 7 right now?
Yeah, it's 7, so
That's 6.
would have, yeah, if that's, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, all right. Now we have unfinished business, homeowners comment and correspondence follow-up. Cheryl, you worked hard. That was a long list.
Yes, but I need better proofreaders as I read and hear and say, oh, that is not that word. Oh, but yes, I draft this and the board participates to answer questions. And again, all correspondence that comes into us, all comments here, we wish to respond to give more information because the law does not permit us to discuss things that are not on the agenda, which means when someone says something, even though it's really important, we can't talk about it. So this is a method for conversing, basically, and responding to the questions and issues that people bring up during the correspondence or comments.
And I really encourage everyone to read this because it does have a lot of information in it. And it is very responsive to the individual questions asked by homeowners. So I know you're always wanting more information and there's a lot in this.
Sometimes it may seem like there's a lot. I know one of them was 9 pages long, and it's not necessarily fun reading. I will work on coming up with an index to topics to maybe cover, part of a year or something like that to make it a little easier if there's certain special interests.
Any questions? We good? All right. Thank you, Cheryl, for all the hard work. The minutes, we need to approve those minutes. Anybody wants to approve them?
I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay. I'm in favor too.
Aye.
Okay.
Minutes are approved. Thank you. The financials, we need to, Bill, do you want to say something about that?
I did a couple quick things on the financials and that I didn't see any surprises that, but one of the things that in the reserves, I did looked at what we had for the 2023 allocations, and then I compared that to the expenditures as shown in the financials, cash basis. And our total allocations for 2023 was $3,750,879. The actual expenditures per the financials, this would include carryover from 22 into 23, was $3,902,977. So we had we spent 152,000 more than what was in the allocation. The other thing that I noted in the financials, of course, we had in excess of $500,000 worth of interest revenue on our investments. So, that did provide some coverage, and also, some of the places we didn't spend money, covered variances both in the siding project, which is where we expected it to be, and in the grounds group, where we had variances there. So all in all, that looked pretty good. Now, one of the interesting things I looked at, and it was pointed out at the Finance Committee meeting, was, in the reserves, and you'll see it in the minutes, that a gap of a pretty significant amount, a little over $500,000. And I went back and I looked at the reserve study. I said, I scratched my head and I said, this doesn't work. And went back and I looked in the reserve study, and what we had used in the reserve study for expenditures in 2023 was a little less than $2 million, when the expectation was expenditures would be $3.765 million. And I sit there and, wait a minute. So our starting figure would have been lower because we use the numbers. So when we meet with Browning, we'll talk to him about that. But we're not missing dollars. That's the first thing, okay? The second thing is reserve study is a study, and it, is based off of forecasting, and obviously there was a bug in that. I didn't pick it up. Doggone it, shame on me that I didn't see that. But, in answer to the question, as noted in the Finance Committee minutes, there's not really a deficiency. In fact, had we used the amount that was actually allocated, we would have ended the year following the reserve study numbers at about $9,700,000 in the reserve. And in fact, we finished the year with $11,113,000 in reserve. So we've got some work to do there, figuring out, okay, what's this, and making sure we tie these numbers out.
So I was with you at the meeting with our CPA, Mr. Erlanger, and he was quite surprised how much money we actually made on our investment. And I didn't quite understand about the taxes, but it was certainly in our favor.
Well, yeah, the first thing is I was concerned that we might have to pay an estimated tax payment in January, and he clarified that for us. But, when you have income, you get to pay taxes, and exactly how much that might be, won't know until the CPA finishes closing the books and prepares the taxes. But combined for the state and federal, it could be as much as 30%. But 30% of what? We need to close the books. And that's, hey, we all get, when you make money, you get to pay taxes. That's life. So.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So when will this correction be made in the reserve study to reflect what you have?
I want to talk to Bob Browning.
Bob Browning.
Yeah. And when we're going to see him in a little over a week,
Okay,
and say, wait a minute, what did we miss here? And, myself, management, Bob was having a lot of, his brother passed while we were doing this. So we'll figure out what's what and make sure that we
quite
get
a
it adjusted.
significant variance difference. I mean, this difference huge.
Yeah.
And
We got to,
that's good, but it's good news.
well, yeah, the good news. And the other thing is we got to remember the reserve study is a 30-year
Yes, yeah, of course,
focus.
yes,
So
thanks.
We need to approve that.
I move for approval of the financials. Yes.
Yeah, second it. I was faster.
All in favor? Do we have to say that?
Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Hi.
Approved. Lien resolution.
We can table it. No, did we table that? No, not this one,
Not this one. No, that's a different one.
but we can. No.
Let's table this one.
Table it. There's
Okay.
not enough information.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And I'll get you a full.
Okay. Architectural committee. We need to approve that too.
Move for approval?
Second.
Okay. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, approved. So then we have, we're looking for a grounds committee chair. Anybody want to start discussion? You?
Yeah.
Going,
I'm
going.
happy to move out of here. No, as I said in the minutes, we did say that I did ask any of the committee members not to rush, but to let me know if they were interested. I did get one response, and that was, is she here? Where? Oh, there, Linda Cook has stepped forward and would like to serve as the chair to the grounds committee.
Does she
So
have
that's-
any experience?
I don't know. Well, let me tell you, she's had I don't know if it's appropriate, but it's 6 years of board experience, 2 years as grounds liaison. And she's also been about, 6 months as the chair. I mean, not as the chair, but as a grounds committee member. Do you think that qualifies her to be the chair? Yes.
I think she's very suspect.
Yeah. Yes. So, well, you haven't started yet, so we
Have to put her on 3 months probation.
a 3-month probation perhaps, but so if that's we need to
I propose that we accept her as chair.
I second.
Okay.
Aye.
yes,
Okay, welcome
And
aboard.
welcome aboard, Linda. Yes.
Brave woman.
A brave woman, yes. And also, just on the next one is Jan Beal also submitted an application to join the grounds committee, and we do have an opening in Zone 7, so that's great news as well. So if the board, any
Move for
questions?
acceptance of her application?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Well, thank you, Jan. She's not here, but okay. All right, now we are coming to our homeowner forum. And again, 20 minutes and maximum, please keep it 5 minutes or under per person. I bought myself a new toy here. This is 5 minutes for people who want to talk a little bit longer, but anyway, so this is 5 minutes. So not to be disrespectful, but we want to respect other people who want to talk as well. So that's why we're using this now. Okay, anybody in the room? I'll start over here. Dawn. You tell me. No.
If you guys ask questions and stop me, then that timer gets. Don Lancettle, Dunbarton Circle. Welcome, Nicole. Glad to have you. My first thing was to thank Dusty for answering a question, whether the board knew it or didn't. A couple of months ago, I had requested the number. What would it take to get Nepenthe's funding of the reserve back over 60 or 65%? Dusty answered that question in the last board packet. And so there's a lot of savings required to get back to that. I've got two starting points as far as managing that. One would be for the siding and ongoing siding in phase 2. I'm not sure how many months or years that's planned for, but I would suggest extending that expenditure like 50%. If it's a 2 years plan, that we take 3 years and help save some of those funds to increase the reserve fund. The second one is that the shrubbery needs to be removed, as was mentioned earlier, for the siding work to be done and then replaced. And I would suggest that that be the only shrubbery removal that is done going forth until we get control of the reserve budget again. If there's trees that fall, that has to be remediated. But instead of making a $20,000 or $25,000 remediation, we make it a $5,000 or $10,000, try to save a few bucks there where we can go back and enhance that more in the future. The siding question came up, and in the Finance Committee last month, I asked where I could find a copy of the Browning recommendation for siding, because I've heard numerous times over the couple of years that Browning has done this investigation and made these recommendations. I was just flabbergasted to hear that there was no written report from Browning on his siding study. I think that really ought to probably expose the board, prior boards that made that decision, what siding and stuff to go to. With Browning coming in next week, it's a perfect opportunity to say, hey, we'd like to have that report in writing. And I'm not referring to a 1 or a page and a half type report. He did a work. There's a lot of work and study and reports and details that should go along with that report, just to have it in the files as having the work having been done. Non-potable water has been brought up a number of times. I don't know the answer. I just have the question. Do we have a source of non-potable water? Okay. And so if we do have a source, then the academic question that's been going on is apropos. Okay, or more than one well. Okay, so there is something available. And one last thing, the contractors just finished the fence work around my house. And I have to say that it was very, very fine work, very good work, very happy with what they did. And I have,
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
have,
You have
I
some
have sand left.
time. To that, actually, I wanted to bring this up quick about the fine work. Thank you so much, Don, for bringing this up. Once a home is completed, or a row of home or whatever, a cluster of homes, Paul Reeves actually does inspect those homes and signs off on it. But if a homeowner sees anything that they feel like it's not to their satisfaction or so, bring it up. Send an email to her and to Nicole. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Too bad. Sorry, you guys on Zoom. Yeah, bring it up to Nicole and she will forward it to Paul Reeves and it will be corrected. So thank you. Yeah.
I do have one other thing I recall. With regard to the reserve budget funding level. This is straight out of First Service's webpage. And the article is from May of last year, Beyond the Basics and Maximum HOA Reserve Funds. Maximizing. Maintaining healthy HOA reserve funds is essential for financial stability. Experts agree that if your percent funded is below 30%, your reserves are considered low. Conversely, if you reach 70 or higher, you're in a high reserve position. Where you want to keep your funding level is in that higher level. We are falling in 2024 to 48% funding. And if you look at the Browning forecast, that funding level is forecasted to go into the 30s. So that was what was behind my question of how much will it take to get us back up to that 60+%.
Thank you, Don. How about Bill? You next after.
Hi, my name is Bill White and I live on Elmhurst Circle. The reason I dropping by tonight it has to do with something that's actually been discussed, and that's what's going on with the Dunbarton Pool. We pay a ton of money here to live here, and we can't use the pool because the homeless apparently have decided that that's where they go take showers and baths and do whatever else they do. If I remember right, we added $12,000 to the budget this year, extra money for the pool service company to clean up the mess that they make when they get in there. And now I saw that apparently they did even more damage. It's never going to get fixed unless we get rid of that fence that's there. A 5-year-old could climb that fence without even thinking twice. Let's take the $12,000 and put a fence up that actually would keep people out. It's the kind of fence that's around secure buildings all over this country. We could take that money and put the fence up, and that would at least make it more difficult. And it's not that ugly of a fence. It's a wrought iron fence. It just tells people try to climb it and you might be impaled on it. So anyway, I think let's spend some money fixing the fence.
We actually met, well, there's more to it, okay? We have some broken doors on that Dunbarton cabana. They cannot be repaired. We were hoping, I met early this month for 3 hours with 3D. 3D is a company that maintains and works only on electric doors, which the majority of our doors are electric, including the gates for our fences. And we were hoping that we would have for today actually a proposal from them. But the problem that they ran into is there are the 2 doors from the cabana into the meeting room over there are wooden doors. They're manual doors. They cannot be repaired. They don't work on them. The one door in the hallway going outside is an electric door, but wooden, and they cannot do that either. So they have to now get together with a subcontractor. It's very, very complicated, and we were really hoping that we would have a proposal in front of us for today, which didn't happen. We also met with our security company, Securitas, and they have shown us a couple of ideas, and we're also waiting for proposals from them. But until then, we feel like it's just not a good idea to open Dunbarton up.
Okay, and even if you fix the doors, a better fence would help us. And I'm sorry to see that you had a tree fall down by you. If you need any help in getting a tree replaced, you know who to talk to.
Thank you. Carol, you next.
Good evening, Carol Duke, Dunbarton Circle. A couple of things. Bill Henley mentioned this evening that there were changes that need to be made on the end of the year reserve numbers. And unfortunately, as always, the devil is in the detail. The prior year and the year before that also had huge errors in the carryover. In one case, Betsy forgot, she said to everyone that she forgot to send the corrected, updated information, which had some really key pieces in it, to Bob Browning. So that was not updated. And the year before, it just wasn't updated. So because of those situations, your current year's information is incorrect. It could be way over or it could be way under. And unless you go back and correct them, you will never know whether you're way over or way under. Secondly, Christina George mentioned earlier, there were 2 trees that went down in Nepenthe from the storm. In my walking around, I clearly found 3 trees that were completely down, one on Vanderbilt, one on the Vanderbilt Court, and one on Elmhurst. Thank you.
Carol, can you tell us which one
Where
on
on
Elmhurst?
Elmhurst? Where on Elmhurst? That was a branch. It was not a tree. It was from the cedar. I can tell you that because I picked it up and carried it over, but it was a tree branch from the cedar tree. It was, so 2 trees have officially fallen as per arborist. The branch that fell on Elmhurst at 501 Elmhurst was from a cedar tree. It was huge, a humongous branch, but that's the one.
That's
I
the one
do
you had.
recall very vividly. Sunday night, moving it.
I also saw it, and when I was out looking, and I knew I couldn't move it, but I clearly saw the break along the one end on the opposite side of Elmhurst, so it was not a tree.
No,
It
it's
was
the
a branch.
branch from the cedar tree that fell.
Okay. Ellen?
I'm Alan Waters and live at 1149 Vanderbilt Way. My home was damaged in last year's storm 13 months ago. We moved in Wednesday night. There are still a number of major things that have not been done, and the contractor has not done anything for about 2 weeks and has not been in touch with me, is not responding to the emails. Today, I called the supervisor once in the morning. He said he'd get back to me in a few minutes. He didn't. I texted him in the afternoon. He didn't get back to me. The roof system is unfinished as yet. There's a new kitchen window that's not sealed. When we moved in Wednesday night, there was no heat in the house. We don't have heat downstairs because they didn't test the thermostats. I already sent a bill for $285 to the association a few days ago. I have an appointment next week with my own HVAC firm because nothing is happening with Dry Creek subcontractor. So I may be having to send Nepenthe yet another bill for HVAC repair to get the heat working fully in my house. There are many smaller things not done properly. There's a exterior light circuit that's out. The carpeting on the stair has been put in the wrong direction, and other things, new toilets that have problems, various other things. I do want to thank the association and management very much because I had asked for help with the my new gate and new fence. Again, it's the general contractors, I think it was their subcontractor, took off the gate, couldn't get it back up, drilled new holes, and for months it had been not closing correctly. But now one day and CPR got it corrected and they painted it and it's working correctly, which is very nice because I had to put something in front of it during that big storm Sunday night to keep I was afraid with the wind blowing the gate back and forth, it might damage the post. So I would appreciate Nepenthe's contacting Dry Creek Construction and finding out what's going on and why I'm not getting any help with these issues that need to be taken care of. Thank
Are
you.
all those issues Dry Creek's issues, or is your homeowner?
No, they're all
carrier-
Dry Creek's issues.
They're all Dry Creeks, even like the carpet inside and that?
Yes, they did the work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Is that something that the association, that who follows up with Dry Creek? It would be Nicole, would you?
I'll follow up to it.
Okay, all right, thanks. Yeah.
Ricardo?
Alan, despite your challenges, awfully glad to see you back.
Good evening, Board and President Marcus. Ricardo Pineda. I'm not going to make a big issue about anything, just an observation when you talked about the condensing units, the air conditioning units. I have a little bit of experience with HVAC. And if you're told to replace the condensing AC unit, you may also have to look at the age of the heat pump, because if you replace the condensing unit in an old one, And then 2 or 3 years down the road or 4 years down the road, you have to replace the heat pump. You may have to replace the condensing unit again. So go into that detailed conversation with the contractor when you get to that point. I'm going to attend I think the architectural committee is tomorrow. I did not understand Mr. Waters when he talked about the policy on the cameras. I have 2 cameras ready to install. There are Arlo cameras, which are painted, a gloss white, and I certainly don't want to have to paint them the color of the house. So hopefully I'll go to that meeting and get a little bit more clarification on what direction the committee's going with the security camera guidance. I think everybody aware, but maybe Nicole isn't aware, that Kelly Moore, who provides the paint formula, or I guess the paint for Nepenthe, I've got it stored in my computer so I don't forget. They're suddenly closed up shop. I saw that in San Francisco Chronicle, and they just abruptly closed all their company-owned stores. Thought I had another item.
Ricardo,
Yes.
to that point, we did work with Kelly Moore. Originally, our paint, as I understand, is actually Dunn Edwards, but we had Kelly Moore matching Dunn Edwards. Okay. So now, since they closed shop, we went back to Dunn Edwards.
Okay, I thought I know Dunn Edwards closed their shop downtown where I used to buy paint. So if they're still in business,
They are
that's
still in business, yes.
that's a good thing. So I think that's all I had. Well, one just last little thing, and I know we'll probably talk it tomorrow, next week up on the Insurance Legal Safety Committee, is do not leave a gap in the flood insurance. You need to have continuous coverage if you're going to maintain the best price. So I got
We never had a gap.
we never had a gap, but from the homeowner's perspective, we received evidence of coverage, and we got a second letter, evidence of no coverage, or no coverage letter, then we got a new evidence of coverage. So that is thumbs up for that. So thank you.
Thank you. Susan Timmer wrote, I believe that's a response to Don Lansittle's question, right? We use a threshold funding model for our reserve funds. With this model, we ensure that in years with the greatest expenses, we still have a cushion of $5 million in our reserve account. Our reserve fund expert, Bob Browning, told us that percent funded is not a reliable metric or one that we pay attention to in developing our reserve study.
I understand what Susan is saying. And two things. One, the First Service information article that I read earlier has some metrics that I'd like to have the board consider. And in one form or another, people have said, well, people don't understand because this is reserve funding dollars and expenditures. And I understand the reserve funding. But as I said last year, when the board of directors approved the reserve funding expenditures or budget for 2024, that passage of that budget does not mean that those dollars all have to be spent. If you were in business world and all of a sudden something happened economically, or your boss or the board of directors came to you and said, you've got to cut 10%, you've got to cut 15%. Your job is to find ways of doing that. That's basically what I'm saying, Susan, that two things, the monies that were approved in the reserve budget for 2024 don't all have to be spent, and management can make changes, as in my suggestion of phase 2. If it's 2 years, extend it to 3 years, push that out.
So I understand you are part of the finance committee.
I am.
Maybe that's a suggestion that you guys would could discuss on as a committee. So Will has
No, I've said the same thing a number of times. So
Okay, Will has his hand up.
Okay, Will Bizarre, two things. First, stretching the siding project out over another year will have virtually no impact whatsoever, other than cash flow, which is not our problem. But in terms of actually reducing the cost to the reserve, all it does is just shift it a year later. It's a 30-year budget. So it's essentially has no effect, or virtually no effect. And secondly, Browning never made a report or a study of the siding. What Browning did was estimate projected costs, which what he does with every item in the reserve study, whether it's the pavement or the sidewalks or the roofs of the buildings. The innovation to change siding came from board members earlier. And so there is no report from Browning to find because it doesn't exist. Browning isn't in that business. He did inquire about the nature of the siding, the new siding we're using, to inform himself about what he should do in terms of projections, because we were, some of us were pressuring him to work a formula into his projections that assumed future out years are going to have less siding replacement than they would have had if we'd have stayed with T111. He's resisted that because he's hyper conservative, and because again, we weren't able to get SmartSide, so we are dealing with a product that still has wood in it. So there is no report, and nobody will ever find it because it doesn't exist.
Thank you, Will. Anybody in the room?
Good evening again, Carol Duke, Dunbarton Circle. Again, Will, the devil's always in the details. Over a period of 30 years, there will be no big difference. But over the period of 5 or 10 years, there will be a huge difference in the numbers. The difference will have to do with whether we go down into the 30s as for our funding in the reserve study or not. We can smooth that out, as Don has said many times, both in the Finance Committee meetings and in this meeting. We can smooth that out easily. Will looks at the full picture of 30 years. The end of 30 years, the result will be very similar. But in the interim, in the near term time, it will be very different. Thank you.
Thanks. Nina?
I just want to make a clarifying comment. Is that too loud? Sorry. About the percent funded. I believe Bob Browning said that the percent funded doesn't matter to a lot of people, but who it matters to is real estate agents and to owners who are trying to sell or buy houses, because those numbers do matter to them over time. And it should matter to us because that number has to be disclosed every single time a house is sold here. So it really matters if you're selling or buying. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina.
We have a question in here if you want to address it. It was earlier on. Says, just one question. There is a lot of moss on the roofs. I had a roof leak last year due to the moss. Are there any plans to clean the roofs? They are looking pretty bad.
I can comment on that because this did come up this afternoon at our executive session. we are looking into having the roofs inspected. We are getting some quotes, how much it's going to cost, and we possibly will have them inspected and, repaired accordingly. Removing the moss is not always a good idea because the way they do it or it's being done, they could possibly damage the shingles. So again, it's not always that easy. So we'll look into that. Anybody else in the room? Anybody on Zoom? Hallie.
No, I'm saying something nice. I'm Hallie Henley. I live on Commons Drive. First of all, thank you to the board. No one knows more how hard you work than your loved ones and your family. So we do appreciate everything that you do. Last month, we had a really nice young man that came in wearing motorcycle gear, and he asked to speak because his mother lives here. And he wasn't allowed to because that's against the rules. And we all understand that. But I don't know, and Carol and Cheryl work so hard on these answers to everybody. And I don't know that everybody understands that if you don't have to come to this meeting, you don't have to slog out here in the rain and get up and ask a question. You can write a question, you can do it on Zoom. And if coming here is difficult for you, your child can help you write a letter to come in or help you with Zoom. And I think it might be nice if in the newsletter, we just let people know that they would like, that you, I assume, would like to hear from them. I don't know how much more work Cheryl wants, but that there are other ways to ask questions and to get answers rather than coming here. And I thought if we had just told him that, because he was very upset. I saw it when we left. And if we had just explained to him and explained to the people how things work, and we all communicated better, maybe life would be a little better for all of us. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Hallie.
I just want to comment on that asking questions is always a good thing, whether it's, I don't understand why I wasn't able to speak, or a question to Nicole, or a question to any board member. We may not be able to give you a full answer at the time you give us a question. We may have to look into it, and some of it may be board member business that requires the entire board to make a decision. It's not one person on the board who decides anything. It's 3 out of 5. So, but asking the question gives us an opportunity to know we need to look at something or we need to dig for some information. You might not like the answers, but at least we can give you a response if you ask the question.
And that little crew have decided that that's the thing they're going to focus on.
And it's like Ricardo and I were discussing this earlier this week, and anybody can come in and say, well, my mom, my aunt, my grandmother, my this. If we just can't allow everyone that walks in the door to say that they belong here. And if the son had had maybe a power of attorney, that would have worked, or submit your question in another way. But just saying, my mom lives here.
Or how about just coming to the office and asking a question?
Yeah.
Because sometimes that would really be helpful and gives us time to prep if there's anything, or especially, I mean, we've got 3, you are there, Nicole, 2 other people, and it's always open for questions. A lot of homeowners do come in. So I think that's, I mean, it is a business meeting. So here, once a month, so.
Teresa? Do you have your hand up?
Yes.
Okay.
This is from way back, but Zoom people weren't able to hear the response about non-potable water. Does Nepenthe have a source of it?
Nepenthe does not have wells. If we were to drill wells, we'd need 9 of them to support the current turf.
Okay, thanks.
This is Cheryl.
Yes, I recognize your voice. Thank you.
Okay, are we done? All right. Next meeting is when? On March 6th. And meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.